time once again to slip into your camo, grab your bow, and join us out in the field for another episode of the Up North Journal, presented by PSE Archery. The Up North Journal crew is knocked and ready to rock for another exciting adventure. So let's step outside and hit the trail.
This episode of the Up North Journal podcast is brought to you by PSE Archery,
ScentLock Technologies,
Scent Blocker,
Rambo Bikes,
Hunter's Blend Coffee,
Limwalker Game Calls,
Stanislawski Releases,
Copper John Sights,
Easy Cut Outdoor Products,
Fourth Arrow Camera Arms,
Wind Sense Hunting Sense,
X-Stand Tree Stands,
Spot Shooters,
and Twisted Mind Bowstrings.
And don't forget, you can catch us in syndication at 2 p.m. Eastern Time on goodtalkradio.com. Welcome back to another episode of the Up North Journal podcast, everybody. I'm host Mike Adams, sitting in the cabin tonight on a cold Sunday afternoon with Dan DeFall, who is busy typing and texting away, sharing this show tonight. So hopefully everybody is doing well this weekend, and hopefully you got your Hunter's Blend coffee setting by. Don't forget your UNJ promo code, get you 10% off. You go over to huntersblendcoffee.com and get you some good coffee. So, Danny, you about ready there?
Almost.
Okay. His fingers are busy typing away. We had a good show this weekend. We went to the Outdoor Rama show, saw a lot of friends there, got the chance to have a good dinner with a friend of ours, Tim Andrus from Rush Outdoors.
Was that a great dinner?
It was, and actually he's a PSE shooter as well, so that is awesome. And speaking of PSE, Danny, you got something that you want to talk about a little bit tonight, and it has to do with our guest. Am I right?
Absolutely.
Well, you ready?
Hold on.
Come on. Get those little fingers going.
I can't find the last link.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what. While you're doing that, I'm going to go ahead and introduce our guest tonight.
There it is.
We have none other than Bobby Vargas, straight from Tucson, Arizona, PSC marketing liaison. Bobby, how you doing tonight?
I am doing well. How are you guys doing? Appreciate you having me.
Doing good. I'm waiting on Danny to quit texting here and typing. He's sharing stuff. While we got that going, we've got Charles Byron on from Iowa, Ron Moses, who's here in our hometown, Lelaine Kilborn, friend of ours, Jim Miller, Turkey Killer Miller is on, AJ Regal from downstate in Michigan, and Ron Moses is getting ready to make smoked venison chili. Man, we got a lot of guys on. Nice. Very nice tonight. Already got almost a dozen people in-house already. So, All right, Danny, you going to join us, or you going to play on your phone?
I'm almost there. I need one more thing.
All right. Well, Bobby, while we're waiting on Danny to finish up here, basically we got you on tonight. We got some products that we want to talk about to get in some people's hands this year to do some turkey killing and some target shooting and deer hunting. So, what do you got there that you want to talk about tonight first?
Yeah, all of the above. Right now is a perfect time to talk about both of these bows, and they'll both work for lots of different applications, but particularly for turkey hunting, one of the bows that we introduced last summer, it was one of the last bows that we dropped into our Evovle line, or Evovle series of bows last year.
Right.
And that's the Evovle 28. I know most of you, or all of you, are familiar with our Evovle 31 and the Evovle 35, and that meant 31-inch axle axle and 35-inch axle axle. And then we introduced the Evovle 28, 28-inch axle axle. Has the same Evovle cam system that was on all of the Evovle models, the highly preloaded lens, the center pull handle, all in that short, compact design. Perfect for turkey hunting, ground blind hunting, really for anything you want to do with it. But for this next season that's coming up, I think it's going to be a huge hit with turkey hunters, guys that like to hunt out of ground blind. It's going to be super comfortable to maneuver around inside the blind, or if you're one of the guys that likes to run and gun and sit up on a tree, sitting on your backside right on the ground, that bow is going to be super easy to draw back and get a shot on a bird.
Well, I've got my 31 sitting here, so basically we're talking 3 inches shorter, and I've talked about the 31 a lot, how I like how compact it is, but you guys have come out with this 28, and Danny and I actually got to shoot it last summer, right when you guys brought it out with Dan Yasa, and I tell you what, the thing just seemed to want to aim. It really fit well in the hands, and being such a short, compact bow, I just fell in love with the thing. It's a dream to shoot.
To shoot for the geometry that it is. And a lot of people look at it and they get scared because it's so short, axle to axle. But actually, one of our local shooters down here in Tucson, he's shooting that Evovle 28 for target. It's working that well for him. Everybody thinks you have to have super long axle to axle to be accurate. But there's a lot more involved with forgiveness, and a lot more contributing factors to forgiveness than axle to axle. And we put all of those into our bows. So no matter what your draw length is or what the geometry is, the bow is gonna perform. It's gonna aim. It's gonna shoot the same spot every time. It's up to us to do the same thing over and over again. So trust your equipment and work on yourself to do the same thing over and over again, and you'll know that the bow's gonna hit right where you need it to every time.
Well, that's where Danny and I have our issues. It's with us, not the bows.
Yeah, it's definitely operator error. It's one of those things that happens when you do that, and we're trying to fix it. We really are. We're getting better, but
it's always the loose nut behind the release is where the problem usually is. But you get to figure that out.
Well, there's 2 loose nuts behind each one of those bows tonight, and
right.
I tell you what, the 28 inch to me, axle to axle, coming into turkey season, sitting in a ground blind is going to be one of those things that's going to be awesome, because when you're sitting in the ground blind and you don't want to move a lot when you get turkeys on board, and they just shooting this bow last year was just, it's so smooth. And why did they decide to go to a 28? What was the big factor? I know you got the 31, the 35. What was the big, hey, let's do this?
The big hey, let's do this moment was it seemed like the trend was going that way. There were a couple other companies that were producing some 28-inch axle laps of bows. We had the capability of doing it, and that's the one of the beauties of having complete control of manufacturing right in-house. All of our design engineers are there. We machine all of our products. We do everything in-house. So when something like that comes up, we have the ability to design and produce something pretty quickly, and we did with that 28. We were able to modify some existing forgings and turn it into that 28-inch axle model without really a lot of R&D time to put into that, because we had everything already there. The bow was essentially already done. We just had to figure out how to change a couple things to make a 28-inch axle, and there you have it. But the big, let's do it moment was the trend was going that way. Consumers were asking for smaller geometry models, and when they asked for it, we're able to react. It's pretty exciting.
That's awesome. And what kind of speeds are you looking at coming out of this bow?
I think that bow's shooting 328, something like that. I don't have the specs right here in front of me, but all of our bows are so fast anymore, anything between 325 and 350. All of our Evovle cam bows fall right in there. I think the Evovle was right at that 328, 332 mark. But one of the other beauties of that ECS cam bow, I don't know if you could see it in the camera here, but for turkey hunting, with that 90% let off cam, one you mentioned earlier about not wanting to or move too much when you're in the ground blind, but with that 90% let off cam, if you've got some birds coming, you can get to full draw and hold at full draw for a long time and still pull off a really strong shot because you're holding hardly any weight at full draw.
I was just about to say and you can get this in an 80 module as well, right?
Yeah, the module that comes with it will be 80, 85, and 90% with the simple adjustment at the draw stop. And then there's another module you can put on that cam that'll do 65, 70, 75.
Okay. You can
right out of the box, you can get 80, 85, or 90%.
That's one thing nice about PSE bows that we've learned to love is the ability to customize it relatively quickly and make it especially for yourself, which you should always do. But it's just one of those things that you can change a screw here, you can change this and that, and really you don't need a bow press.
No,
right? Yeah, you don't need anything but a set of wrenches, and you can take care of that yourself. Some of the you talk to target shooters, they talk about holding weight. They don't necessarily talk about wanting a specific let off. They talk about needing a specific holding weight for their shots to break the way they want them to. And with that ECS cam system and 6 positions of let off, you can find that special holding weight that you want. It's a pretty slick system.
And that's one thing. And that's one thing that's nice about shooting in this league that Mike and I are shooting in is we're learning and finding different techniques as to what feels right, what holds right. And then you were mentioning yesterday that you went to a 3D league, which is nice to be outside in Arizona.
Right.
And
Yeah, I did. I went to shoot a 3D tournament. I took the same bow with me that I took to Vegas 2 weeks ago. I just switched out arrows, and I left it I shoot my target setups with the low let-off modules and the 75% let-off position. I'm only shooting 57 pounds with my target bow, but I took the Evovle 35. Oops, that's upside down. I don't know if you could see that, but this is the exact same bow that I took to Vegas. That geometry for me, that 35-inch axle to axle fits me really well at my draw length. So that's the bow that I took to Vegas. And when we signed up to shoot this 3D tournament yesterday, I just switched to a different arrow, and same release, same stabilizer setup, same everything, and went out and had some fun yesterday.
That's just another little tip that he's, same bow and everything. Right. He just switched out arrows.
Right.
So he knew what he was getting into. So he says, all right, I'll just change my arrows for it.
Mm-hmm. Those big giant 550 grain 27 diameter arrows wouldn't work well on the 3D course, but on the market, I don't even know how heavy they are. They're crazy heavy, and I just know they're too heavy for me to want to shoot 3D with them. But switching out arrows and didn't take much for tuning. The bow was already tuned essentially. You had to do a little bit of tweaking for a different arrow, but not very much at all. Most of the work was just sighting in for the new arrow. But once we got it figured out, the bow was rocking.
What this bow? What does it come in? What colors? What patterns are we looking at if we would like to get a 28?
And the Evovle 28?
Yep.
The Evovle 28, you can get it in black. You can get it in textured charcoal, mossy oak finish, Kuyu, Cryptek. And all of those camo finishes for this year are going to be in the new color fusion process. It's slightly different, or a lot different than our film dip process from years ago. But the color fusion process brings makes the pattern so much more vibrant, gives it so much more depth and definition to it. There is a slight upcharge if you're going from a solid color to a color fusion camo color, but once you see it, it's well worth it.
And that's awesome. And we did see that at the show, and it really does make it pop.
Yeah, ATA, I was really blown away with how much detail you can see in those camo patterns, the way they pop off those bows.
Yeah, that's
and instead of adding material to the top of the base coat, it impregnates the base coat with a pattern. So it doesn't add to the base coat, so it makes it more durable. You can't scratch it off or make it flake off. You'd have to take a hammer and chisel to it to get it off of there, but it is a much more durable finish too, not just looking better.
And don't worry, I won't be taking a hammer and chisel to my PSE.
Don't try it. Take my word for it.
You know what? You're the man, so I'm taking your word for it. That you guys, and that's one thing probably your engineering group out there has probably tried just about everything on this stuff too, whether it be the cams, the strings, the limbs, the finish. You guys have probably tried it to make sure it either works or it's not going to work if you do this.
Right. Yeah. So
there are so many different processes that we try in house before they make it to the production line. Always trying to get better. Right now we feel like we've got the best processes in place, the best production processes in place. But even though we feel like we're doing the best we can now, we're always working to get better. So, and we don't want to get complacent with anything. We just want to make sure that we're maximizing our dollars and our people in house, and making sure that the end user gets the best product too.
Absolutely, and that's one thing nice. Now these are already out in the store, so people can get out to their local pro shop and shoot these things. And Bobby, what kind of price are we looking for? Price point that we're going to be looking at when we're looking at the 28?
$9.99 on the 28, $10.50 in color fusion.
Okay, perfect. And you know what? So people, get out to the pro shops. Try this thing for turkey season, because this is going to be a perfect, short, full of power turkey killer.
Absolutely.
So I tell you what, Bobby, let's go to a break, and when we come back, we're going to turn our attention to a little target shooting bow.
All right, we're going to step outside. We'll be right back after this.
PSE Archery has reinvented the way you buy bows.
From now on, you can make the most educated decision possible
by basing your bow choice specifically on your shooting needs and goals.
All you need to do is ask yourself, what kind of shooter am I? What do I want to achieve?
PSE will help find the right category for you.
So, what kind of shooter are you?
Find out at PSEArchery.com.
Welcome back. Second segment of the show. Still sitting here talking PSE archery, talking bows,
Talking
talking
PSE.
hunting.
No, we're not. We're talking how short I am and how Bobby picks on me all the time.
Well, for those of you on the podcast, that's what you missed by not watching the live stream.
Right, exactly. But we do have Bobby Vargas here for PSE. And in our first segment, we talked about a nice, short, 28-inch axle-to-axle bow that you could use probably very well for turkey season.
Yeah.
But after tonight, we're going to go do some target shooting.
Yep.
But they've come with a new bow for short binary, and we're going to have Bobby explain that to me about the drive.
I see there's a theme going here. Something short. Is this something that's falling in line with you?
Yeah, absolutely,
okay.
because Bobby and I have worked exclusively on the short line.
Okay, all right. Just making sure. All right. So.
All right, Bobby. We're talking about the drive.
We got the new drive at SB. I tried to talk everybody into calling it the SD for the short Danny, but I couldn't get that approved. So it's built off the 3B. We left the B in there and called it the SB for short binary.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
For all of you guys that have been with us for a long time, and you've seen us go through some cam modifications, like with the Evo cam, and then we had the mini Evo, and then we had lots of drive cam and the mini drive, and then most recently we had the Evolve cam system called the EC, and then the small Evolve cam was called the SE, so they're just easy to follow. And after the Evolve cam system, we introduced our that 3-track binary, so we called it the 3B, and then we worked real hard on making a smaller version of that to get to the shorter draw length, so we called it the SB. So that 3B was most recently on our drive bow, and then at the ATA show this year, we introduced that drive with the SB cam, getting us down to 22 to 25 inch draw lengths.
22 to 25, wow.
22 to 25. So this is taking this bow in the cam system and putting it into somebody that's even shorter draw
than you,
than me. But there is people out there. Matter of fact, we shoot with a lady on Sunday nights, and she has that. She has the short draw length,
right.
And there's other people that have just as short draw length. So this bow falls right into that category.
Yeah, we've always had bows that get down to that draw length, but there are our grow with you bows, basically, for youth, kids that are still growing. We had bows that went from 11 inches to 28 inches with one model bow, just crazy adjustable. So mom and dad could buy those bows knowing that kids aren't going to grow out of it really quickly and it'll last them a long time. And they'll grow out of the model before they grow out of the bow. But, you get into some adults, or all adults really, they don't want to shoot a youth model bow. They want a performance bow that fits them. Not just in draw length. They want a performance bow that fits them. So we've worked real hard on that over the last couple of years, and that's what we were able to come up with that drive SB.
Right, and this bow the SB is going to have an 85% let off on it.
Right, 85% out of the box. It's not adjustable and let off like the ECS cam is, but it's going to feel like it on the draw. It's a true twin cam, so you're going to have a really solid wall at full draw, 85% let off, producing great speeds for that geometry and short draw lengths. And it's gonna be available in camo colors too, so it'll be a great hunting bow. But I think it's going to be a huge hit for our short draw adults out there.
Absolutely, and you know what? This axle-to-axle on this is 29.5. So again, it's putting it right in that short axle. So if you're out in a ground blind or a natural blind, having a short ceiling with that, you're going to be able to pull this off with this bow. And I think that says monuments about getting these shorter draws types out there and getting them able to shoot something.
Right.
And you mentioned that short axle to axle, and we introduced this bit as us introducing the target bow. So I wanted to just make sure that people understand that you don't need long axle to axle length to be accurate. I mean, it helps. I'm not going to say that it doesn't, but you don't need long axle to axle to be accurate, especially when you're at that draw length range. If you're in that 22 to 25, it's finding that comfortable string angle that works for you. That's what's important. Getting a bow that fits you is way more important than a long axle to axle. And we mentioned it a little earlier that I'm shooting a 35-inch axle to axle bow for target, and that geometry for me works really, really well. And luckily, obviously, I work for PSE. I can shoot any bow that we have there. And I've shot all of them from the 28-inch model to our 40-inch axle target bow. And just what works well for me is that 34 to 36-inch range. It's you just have to find a bow that fits you. Don't get so caught up in looking for that long axle target bow. You got to get one that fits you. And with the geometry of that drive at that 22 to 25-inch range, I think it's just perfect.
Well, you mentioned that in our first segment, the 28. You had a gentleman that I think right out by you that was shooting it in the Target League.
Yep. So we had an indoor league at an indoor tournament. Had a few hundred people down at the factory at the Pete Shepley Archery Center. It was a 5-spot event, and he won the bow hunter division with that 28.
Yeah. So it really comes down to what you said. It's the person behind the bow, but it's you don't need the long axle. It's a 28. This is 29 and a half, and the draw weight's I think 50 pounds
on the drive.
On the drive, this one comes in.
Yeah, 1560.
Okay, so 1560, and with the 50-pound, if you wanted to take it lower, do you know how much approximately you could take that lower than 50?
I don't have the spec sheet right in front of me, but I want to say you can back those limb bolts out 12 times, and each turn is about 1.5 pounds, so that you can get a good 15 pounds out of the bow.
Yeah, so that just goes to show you it kind of can be a little grow with the bow, but it's just one of those things that you get out there. The short binary, he said, just like he said, the way the cams help you, the let off on the bow, it makes it just a nice smooth shooter.
Mm-hmm. What were we looking at retail price on this bow, Bobby?
Oh shoot!
I think
you're gonna have to. I think we're looking at $7 or $6.99 on that bow. Don't quote me. Go to the website and take a look there. I apologize.
Okay.
I have that right in front of me. We only have about 34 SKUs for me to try to remember price.
Oh, that's it? Just 34?
yeah. Well, that's not counting right hand, left hand, and colors, and then you're really going to lose me there. But yeah, go to the website, take a look at it. We've got them up there. You can get an idea. I say it's $6.99, but take a peek.
Better yet, get over to your pro shop and start shooting these things because you need to get these in your hands. And this is what Mike and I tell everybody: shoot them all.
Absolutely.
Don't just hear from what you say, what Bobby says. Shoot them all. Get out there, try them all. One's going to feel different in your hand than the other one. Mike's hand's going to be different than Bobby. Bobby's different than me.
What I like about PSE is on your website you've got that question and answer, and it takes you right into the range of bows to go shoot. You don't have to sit there and shoot 15 different bows to figure out what you want to do. You talk a little bit about that? Yeah,
that's a pretty neat system, and that's a neat segue. We're talking about all the SKUs we have. We do have a lot of different models, and that's what's nice about having complete control of manufacturing is we make a bow to fit every niche out there just about. And when every day Pete walks in, if somebody bumped into him at the coffee shop in the morning and said, hey, you guys really are missing out on this whatever, they'll come right straight into engineering and say, guys, we need to get working on this. So that's why we're able to have a bow that fits every niche out there. But at the same time, there are so many options in our product line. It might be a little overwhelming when you're shopping. If you're not already set on one particular model, then when you go to the website, there's a quick questionnaire that pops up, and they'll ask you just a couple of short questions, and it'll drive you towards a couple of different models to help you narrow it down. If you like speed, if you're all out speed, you're going to be somebody to shoot something in our vapor line. If you like smooth pull and smooth feel, then you're going to like something in our Evovle line. If you're just getting started and you're looking at getting one bow to do everything, you're probably going to want to find something in the Adapt line. And then the Target line, it's pretty simple to follow there. But fill out that quick questionnaire, and it'll drive you towards it'll narrow you down to a couple different models that we think will be right for you.
That's
and then from that point,
it's almost like
your dealer. Yeah,
it's almost like the little when you sometimes you go to the websites and the little window pops up and says, "Can I help you?"
Right.
But here it is. Ask you a couple of questions. We're going to help you get to the kind of bring the focus to what you might be interested in. And speaking of being a focal point, but we do have a question coming in, and the question is, What do you gain or lose by using the different let-offs? Why would a person want a 70% let-off when they could be using an 85 or a 90?
Well, if you were listening earlier, you would have caught the point where some shooters or most target shooters you talk to, they're going to like that low let-off, meaning they're going to have really high holding weight. So with that really high holding weight, it forces you to use back tension. It forces you into the shot, and it makes you pull off, strong shots every time. And in that target situation, when especially shooting spots, or really any target situation where you need to be consistent all the time anyway. But when you're in an intense target situation, a low let-off bow with higher holding weight will force you to pull off cleaner shots and more consistent shots. And that doesn't work for everybody, but most of your target shooters are going to like that lower let-off with a higher holding weight. But also, having said that, most of the people that are shooting the ECS cam bows are shooting them in the high let-off position because it just feels so much more comfortable. If you're hunting with it or just a recreational shooter, you're going to want to have that higher let-off. It's so much more comfortable. It feels so much better at the full draw position. And the beauty about the ECS cam, too, is with any other cam system that's adjustable and let-off, when you go to the higher let-off position, you will lose a little speed. But with the ECS cam system, you don't lose any speed going from low let-off to high let-off. You might actually get a foot or two extra going to the high let-off position with our bow.
That's awesome. That's just another point taken, that it comes down to a personal preference.
Yep.
Like you said, Bobby, target shooters like to hold more holding pressure. Mm-hmm. And hunters like to be able to sit there and wait for a little while sometimes. So yeah, definitely. And that's one thing nice about these cam systems, that you can do that. And you can, if you're not feeling it, you can go down to 60, or you can go up all the way up into the 90s.
Well, I've noticed that a little bit. I mean, shooting the 31, the Evovle 31 this year, I pulled back on a doe, and I had to wait for it to clear before I get that shot. I was at full draw for quite a while, and it didn't bother me to hold that bow back. And it was very comfortable. But now, like when Danny and I are shooting target, you got that forward pressure. You're pulling, and you want that bow to explode and come apart. And when you got that higher pressure back there, you're pulling on it, and it helps you to hold that thing and to rip it apart. That ripping apart type motion. So I understand what you're talking about. It's just two different situations.
Yeah. It promotes better follow through with the lower let-off positions.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go. He just explained it. Follow through. Yep.
Something that sometimes I don't do quite well when I'm shooting target, and that's when I get frustrated. But.
Exactly, and he does get frustrated. I sometimes have to tell him, calm down, stop overthinking it.
Right. Yeah, that's one of my problems, is overthinking things too much. But I tell you what, we're bumping up here on our second break, so why don't we step outside, take our next break, we come back. If we got some questions, we'll answer them. And if not, we'll jump into the coalition, the next one we're going to talk about?
We're going to talk crossbows.
Okay, all right. We'll step outside, and we'll be right back after this.
PSE Archery has always dominated the speed category. Now, the most revolutionary cam system ever to hit the market has perfected the shooting experience. Introducing PSE's Evovle cam system, featuring extremely high let-off capabilities and the smoothest draw cycle in history. No other cam system has ever delivered this level of total comfort and total control. Experience PSE. Experience performance.
Third segment of the show, everybody. We're still sitting here in the cabin. We're freezing. But Bobby's nice and warm in Tucson, Arizona.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that he's enjoying himself. And we got a compliment here from Matt Howard. He's in Ohio. It's not compound related, but it's nice to see some PSE target recurves. They've been putting them have been putting our Joad kids in them. So they've been letting the Joad kids have them.
Good, awesome. I'm glad we had something that worked out well for them.
And and Denny Steiner, when he shot his Cape Buffalo, he held for 8 minutes waiting. So without the high let-off.
Right. When we talked about that when we had him on the show, we were actually at ATA. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, go back and check that episode out, episode 500, as a matter of fact. So.
Right. So, but you know what? We've talked about a turkey bow, nice and short. We've talked about a target bow, short draw, SB.
Short Danny? SD?
I wanted it. I'd go for that. My own signature line. I'm in. I'll thank Pete.
Yeah.
But anyways, we can't leave out crossbows because you know me. I like my crossbows. I have a season for them.
You do.
It's the cold season.
Right.
But anyways, this year, and we talked about this at ATA, but we have the new coalition coming out, right, Bobby?
Yeah, new coalition. We introduced it at the ATA show. Crossbows have been growing significantly over the last several years, and you can't deny it. There's so many different states that are opening up crossbow seasons. I wish they would have their own season instead of dropping them into archery season, but it's happening and can't stop it. So we have to be able to react to it. So we just introduced the new coalition at the ATA show. 380 feet per second, comes with all the bells and whistles, complete package, multi-reticle scope, quiver with bolts and cocking strap. It's got a really nice adjustable buttstock to it. All of our crossbows over the last couple of years have been going towards the compact side because we're realizing the importance of needing it to fit your kids and to fit grown-ups like Danny. And so we're making the short compact stocks. But if that's too short, then let's give them an adjustable stock so it'll fit everybody.
I tell you what. Looking at this crossbow at ATA, I'm going to start with the top down on this thing. But first of all, price point on this bow is going to be
$300.
Okay, so starting there, price point $300. This scope alone on this thing, it's a lighted scope, correct?
Yes, it is a lighted scope.
I mean, right
illuminated
there,
rectal scope.
You're starting with an illuminated rectal scope that you start there and then you start working from there. Like Bobby said, the adjustable stock on this thing, phenomenal. I'm not going to lie, people. This thing is adjustable for the short guy like me to the 6'5" tall guy.
Two guys got a longer reach.
Absolutely, and I held this thing at ATA and I loved it. And going back to what we talked about with the short bows about being in a ground blind,
right?
This plays right into it.
Absolutely.
So Bobby, on the front end of this, looking at it, we got a picture up on it right now that we're looking at. Is there anything? What's the word I'm looking for? That we can integrate into this, like a shooting stick or anything like that? Do you have anything like that, or what?
It's got Picatinny grooves in there, so you can attach a bipod or shooting stick to it, or any kind of accessory that'll mount to that pick rail. So yeah, you can put just about anything on there, or you can set it on any tripod or V-shaped shooting stick. And we've actually introduced some gun accessories on the PSE rifle side this last fall. We've got a gun saddle that works perfectly with that crossbow and mounts on top of your tripod, and it's got a lever lock system on the side where you lay that crossbow in there and squeeze it in, and it'll hold it perfectly still for you.
That's awesome. This comes with a cocking rope. Does PSE make a crank type cocking device that you could purchase separately?
Yes, we do. We do offer cocking mechanisms. That is an aftermarket piece for that. We do give you a lot of other great bells and whistles and top of line accessories for $300, but couldn't quite include that cocking mechanism and keep it at that price point.
Nope.
Give you that cocking rope.
Totally agreed.
Cocking mechanism on it.
And that's the thing what really impressed me about this. For everything you're getting and the price point that you guys have hit this with is just you can walk in literally. And speaking of walking in literally, when is this supposed to hit the stores? Because I think you said this is going to hit this summer.
Yeah, late spring, early summer.
Okay.
We've already taken pre-orders since the ATA show. We're expecting delivery late spring, early summer.
And that's the thing. So wait till a little bit into summer to get to your pro shop to try this and shoot this thing. I tell you what, it's a flat shooter. It's for $300. I don't think you can beat it for a family piece for the youngsters. Get them into the blind this fall and let them shoot this thing, and it'd be fun in the backyard.
Absolutely.
And that is the beauty of crossbows. I mean, I'm still a huge fan of vertical bows, but for families, obviously the kids can't pull back the 70-pound bows that you can, but you can hand that crossbow across the board from your 5-year-old to whoever, and everybody's shooting the same performance with that crossbow. pretty nice.
Are you starting to see more of that style with families using something of this system and getting out and doing archery, as far maybe even hunting, or is it more kind of like a backyard thing? I mean, where are you seeing that explosion and that growth at right now?
On the crossbow side, it's all over really, because there's so many different applications for it. A lot of guys, like a lot of older guys who are running into bad shoulders and they can't pull their compound bows anymore. Those guys are falling into crossbows. One of the really good things about the crossbows is those guys that probably wouldn't have ever bow hunted, but they're hunters and they're rifle hunters forever, but they can transition into a crossbow and still have that, that rifle feel, but they're still, having to, do everything you need to do to bow hunt the animals. But a lot of the growth I'm seeing, or we are seeing, is there, and with the families, with the economy the way it's been the last several years, not everybody can buy a crossbow for every single member of the family, or a bow for every single member of the family. So with getting a crossbow, you can get one and anyone can shoot it. You don't have to worry about changing draw lengths. You don't have to worry about whether or not they can pull it back. It's just anyone can shoot it, and for $300, the whole family can have fun in the backyard.
So it's making it economical for a whole family to be able to use one tool to get out and have some fun with.
Right.
And really,
hopefully that gets them interested enough where they'll be able to get some more pieces for each of the family members, and a lot of times that does happen. But just to get started, and not knowing whether or not everyone's going to like it, for $300, the entire family can play the same game and figure it out.
$300, and then when you go to buy the bolts for these, you only have to buy one set of bolts. You don't have to like Bobby was saying earlier when he switched from indoor target to outdoor target, switching arrows. Now with a crossbow, you decide if you want the 20 or 22 inch bolts, and then that's what you shoot, right? Yeah. And so you can sit in the backyard and shoot this thing at a bag, and everybody can take a turn, and you don't have to worry about switching, doing this, doing that.
Getting a release for everybody.
That's a good one too. And if you got this thing in on a stick or something like that, and it really helps, I think, showing the youngsters that they can do something.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like Bobby said, not everybody can go pull the 60, 70, 80-pound bow back, but hey, you're pick an age, and you can shoot this thing at 20, 30 yards, and look what you're doing. You're hitting the target.
Yep, and growing into something else, like you said, maybe into a vertical bow once they learn that's something they really enjoy. So it's a great way to introduce them to it.
And that's a good thing for $300. So this is going to come out. He's talking late spring, early summer. Give it some time, then get out and check it out. But I think this is going to hit perfectly just in time for that. Wake up everybody hunting in August and get them into the fall season. And a new crossbow would be a perfect thing.
Absolutely.
Don't wait till season starts to go look for it. If you're at all interested, get to your dealer this summer and get it in your hands and get used to it.
You know what, Bobby? I don't care what it is. Don't do that. Don't wait. Don't go run to the store the day before season, buy it, shoot it at your local range at about 10 yards and say, I'm good to go. And next day you're out in the woods hunting something. Please don't do that.
Spend the time, get out there, practice with it, and get to learn your equipment. No matter if it's a bow or something else, you always need to know your equipment. Safety as well. So,
speaking of that, Bobby, there is a question out there by Ken Cicluna, but could you give me an option whether to unload the crossbow? I know they've come up with arrows and dummy arrows, or I forget what they call them, but they shoot them in the ground. But truthfully, the only way you really can't use, I guess you could use the rope to decock it. Do you know of a kind of a fail-safe way to do that?
Yeah, don't use the rope. It is. I don't even want to say it's possible. We've done it before, but that is not a method you want to use to uncock it. It's just there's so much force on that string. You don't want to use the rope to uncock it. Really, the best way to do it is we do offer discharge bolts. It's a big, heavy bolt with a giant blunt point, and you just shoot it into the ground. That's the best way to do it. A lot of guys carry. We have them in our own retail shop too. There's some companies that sell tiny little 1 foot by 1 foot bag targets.
Yep.
And you just shoot a bolt with your field point into that bag. That's really the best and safest way to unload it and uncock it.
Okay, that's one thing again, especially on these PSE bows and in the crossbows and in general. But so much preload on these things, especially in the crossbows. Please be safe. Do it smart. When you're shooting it, if you're using an arrow to shoot in the ground, be careful what you're shooting in the ground. Mm-hmm. I've shot into too soft to ground and almost lost an arrow. Buried it that much. But so get yourself one of those safety arrows, discharge bolt or whatever you want to call them, so you can do that, and then get out there.
Danny, a safety tip for you if you're going to discharge your crossbow into the ground, get up into the bed of your pickup truck or something and make sure that it gets you up off the ground a little further. So you're not.
Thanks.
You have to for the arrow to come out of the bow.
Yeah.
Oh, I love the banter back and forth.
You got Mike crying here, and it's not good. But you know what? We got one more segment. We got one more segment that we want you to stay tuned because we're going to ask Bobby some questions because we haven't had you on live ever before. And he's our typical guest. We need to ask a couple of questions that...
Absolutely.
We can't just let him run off into the yard with his rake and go be happy. Oh, no.
Right. Into the Arizona sunset?
Yeah, well...
All right, I tell you what, we're going to step outside, take our last break. We come back, we'll continue the conversation. We'll be right back after this.
Acceleration is part of PSE's DNA. PSE pioneered the speed movement. Now they've developed the vapor category to help you find the most powerful bows on the market to fit you.
High speed equates to intense power and building the momentum you need to be successful. Are you a vapor shooter? Find out at PSEArchery.com.
Last segment of the show, we are talking with the one and only, the man, the myth, the legend, my bow idol himself, Bobby the Man Vargas. Bobby?
Oh, here it comes.
Have you been shooting in the Pete Shepley range there?
I have. That's pretty incredible facility out there.
Could you give us a quick rundown of that beautiful place we talked about at the ATA, and we had Pete talk about it? It's kind of gotten into it a little bit more. I've been watching the PSE page. They've been putting out things that are going to be happening there, which we just can't go to.
Right.
But talk a little bit about that place.
We have a ton of things going on there. It's in addition to our retail shop. Our retail shop has 12 20-yard indoor lanes. We have an outdoor range where we can shoot out to 110 yards. It's covered with lighting so we can shoot at night as well. But this last winter, Pete opened up a huge part of our facility, purchased, I don't know how many dozens of giant 4x4 block targets, put them all on wheels, and put them into what is now known as the Pete Shepley Archery Center. It's an incredible center. We can run 216 people on a 20-yard line in one direction. And then on the other end of the hall, we can run 64 people on a top and bottom line. And it's 70 yards deep inside. So it's one of the only indoor facilities, one of the only, not the only, one of the few indoor facilities we can shoot that for. Definitely the only one in the Southwest.
And I tell you what, Pete Shepley himself is very proud of this because he had that picture up of this place on the semi there at ATA, and he just about brought everybody that he talked to in front of this picture and showed them. He is very proud of that.
Yeah, he sure is. And we are too, because it's right there in our backyard or in our yard. It's an incredible facility. We're working real hard with a lot of organizations to bring tournaments inside. We have Stephen Yee, who's running the facility right now, and he's the go-to for booking anything. But he's been on the ground doing lots of leg work, talking to every organization that he can to get them to bring their big tournaments into our facility. He's going to high schools, Boy Scouts, JOAD groups, and anyone out there that he can get to bring them in as a group to play archery games in our facility. He's doing it.
That's awesome. But anyways, people, take a look at it. Go online. You can get to it. I forget the website off the top of my head, unless Bobby, you remember.
The Pete Shepley Archery Center. If you Google that, it'll take you right to it.
There you go.
Pete Shepley Archery Center. That'll take you right to the website, and you'll see what's going on there. We have some events going on, and we have something happening in there almost every night. Every night we have somebody booked or some local group that comes out and shoots and plays archery games in there. We have a section in there set up just for archery tag as well, so that's a lot of fun. That we get some of the guys from the plant together, and we'll stick around and play archery tag. It's I never thought that I would ever spend any time. If all the years with me shooting a bow, I never thought that I would ever get to shoot somebody with a bow and arrow. But archery tag is a lot of fun. It's really intense when you get to play it. And,
I have played that game, and that is at first a weird feeling that you're actually shooting at somebody with a bow and arrow.
It is, but it is perfectly safe. They're 15 or 20 pound recurve bows, have a giant foam tip on it, and I think you can throw a tennis ball harder than you can get hit with one of these arrows.
Right,
but,
exactly.
It is a lot of fun.
So now let's go to the personal side of Bobby. So Bobby, you're traveling somewhere. You're driving, or you're flying, or you're doing something.
Going on a hunt trip.
Going on a hunt trip, and
I am. I'm actually grounded now for a little while. I went to the Vegas shoot a couple weeks ago, and it's always a neat experience.
Okay,
that's the big story event of the year.
So you were on your way there. And so you were on your way there. What was your favorite snack that you needed to get to Vegas?
My favorite snack.
Yes.
To Vegas. Pete and I drove together this year and year before, and whenever I'm driving anywhere, I've got to have a big bag of sunflower seeds. Big bag of sunflower seeds and a cooler full of Diet Coke, and that gets me through just about any road trip.
Regular sunflower seeds or flavored?
Flavored. A good friend of mine this last spring introduced me to salted caramel sunflower seeds, and that's been my current favorite.
Ooh, I ain't gonna buy into that. That just didn't. I'll have to find them and try them. But
well, I was about to say this. That they're hard to find. So if any of you guys out there run across any at your local store and you find a bag, send it to me. I'll be happy.
Oh, they are that hard to find. Okay.
They're hard to find.
Okay. So now we got that out of the way. The guy likes sunflower seeds and a little Diet Coke. But now you stopped and you're feeling hungry. It's like, so what would be like your favorite meal that you can cook, whether venison or a very wild game meal that you would cook for yourself that says, this is what I got to have?
That's what I got to have. Recently, I love elk burgers. That's probably my favorite. But over these last couple of seasons, it's not totally brand new, but just somewhat new to me. But just putting big deer roast in a crock pot with seasoning. My wife makes machaca out of it. Dried shredded meat from the crock pot. And
okay,
it's incredible. Great with eggs. Great with just the way it is right now. Crock pot deer, crock pot elk, crock pot.
That's your go-to meal, right? We'll set a crock pot in front of you, and the guy's going to be happy.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, stuff to beat grilling too. A cold beer and a steak on the grill. That's always a good go-to too, and it's so much faster too. If you're not willing to wait 6 or 8 hours for your meat to come out of the crock pot, a good grilled steak is awesome too.
You know what? And okay, so we got your favorite little snack. We got your favorite little meal. But you got to be listening to something on the radio. And if you're listening to something, what are you listening to? You listening to a podcast? You listening to some good 70s rock and roll? Maybe some country? What are you listening to?
Well, if I'm not listening to an Up North Journal podcast, it's usually some country music.
You can't go wrong with either one of those.
Right.
I like all kinds of music. I really like it all. But if I was forced to pick one, it'd probably be some country music.
There you go. And a big shout out to Don Edwards. He likes listening to the tape podcast during the week, but this is the first time he's watching the live show today.
Okay, well, welcome to the show, Don. Appreciate you tuning in.
And you picked a good show because when we have Bobby on,
that's right.
The guy's amazing.
Absolutely. Send us some sunshine, please. We're dying here in Michigan
right now.
What's that?
We have plenty leftover sunshine. I've got more than I can use right now. We'll send some.
We're down in close to single, well, actually almost zero at night here for the next 3 or 4 nights. It's getting back brutal again, but you know what? Spring is on the horizon, and we're going to be out shooting bows in the backyard instead of indoors.
And next week, time change.
Time change next week as well. Yeah, absolutely. So that's going to bring a little more daylight later in the day. So, but
awesome.
But just move the screen a little bit so we can see what the final tally is here.
Still the same.
Still the same. So we got 57% of the people that have taken this poll is going to be using a bow or a crossbow for turkey season.
Bobby, before we let you go, have you hunted turkeys with a bow or crossbow?
I have with the bow.
Okay. What's your recommendation on something like a tip using a bow? What's a piece of advice you could give somebody to make sure that they're a little more successful?
Well, I mean, if I was to give any tip, I guess it depends on the situation. If you're with a caller, which I was lucky enough to have a caller with me at the time, so I was able to get my bow to full draw and hold it. So my tip would be lower your draw weight of the bow if it's not already low enough where you can really comfortably and smoothly pull it back from a seated position or from sitting on the ground. You don't need a lot of speed for turkeys because it's gonna be a relatively close shot anyway. The lower that draw weight, shorten the draw length a little bit. I promise you, it's going to make it a little easier to get to full draw and anchor. But get to full draw as early as you can. That would be my biggest tip right there. And that's what I learned. They have such good eyes, and any little movement you make when they're up close, you're going to get busted. So get to full draw as early as you can. I think it's going to help you be more successful on birds with a bow.
Were you using a expandable broadhead or were you using a fixed?
Expandable. I like really big expandable. I like big expandables anyway, but for turkeys, big expandable, light draw weight. You put it into the bird. You don't want a complete pass through on a bird. That makes it so much harder for them to fly off if the arrow's still stuck in them. So a big expandable into the wings or into the body keeps them from flying off. And plus, big expandable, more blood. They're gonna expire sooner. So big expandable is my preference.
Okay, all right. A man with liking expandables.
Well, you mentioned the lower draw weight. I never really thought about that a whole lot. I mean, I always took my deer rig when I go out, and never really thought about dropping that weight any. You don't need 50, 60, 70 pounds, whatever your deer setup is, to kill a turkey. Right. Yeah, that's great advice.
Right. And they're tough birds. It's tough getting through those feathers, but you don't need 50, 60 pounds, especially with our bows. Our bows are so fast. And, you don't need a heavy weight.
Exactly. All you got to do is put it in the cage.
Right. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, we're bumping up here at the end of the show. I tell you what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and wrap up the podcast portion. We'll sit down here for just a few minutes afterwards if there's any questions. So for everybody that's listening to the podcast, get over on a Wednesday. Make sure you check out the show.
I'll release it on our website. Get over to PSEArchery.com. Check out their page. Make sure you go through those questions if you're looking for a new bow. It'll get you pinpointed right down to where you need to be. Any last advice, Bobby, before we let our podcast listeners go?
Man, I have so much. It depends on what the topic is.
Go to PSEArchery.com.
Just get to your local dealer. That's probably my biggest advice. And if I was just to give one tip, for anything we talked about today, get to your local dealers. There's so much knowledge at any of those local dealers, and I can sit here and tell you all day long how good our bows are and how good they feel. But really, get to your dealer, put it in your hands, touch it, feel it, try it, figure it out for yourself, and you'll see. Everything that we've talked about is going to be spot on.
We got a quick question.
Okay.
Is Bobby going to be doing any javelina hunting out in Arizona?
I just did. Our January is our javelina season, our archery season anyway. And I was lucky enough to shoot a big boar in January. Have some good friends come out here from Tennessee to hunt javelinas with us. And I'm born and raised here in southern Arizona, and we've seen javelinas all our life. So I couldn't understand why these guys wanted to fly all the way out here and spend the money on hunting javelinas. But it was a cool experience for them. They've never done it before, and we were able to get both of them shots on javelina and experience how we do it out here. And but yeah, to answer that question, short answer is yes. I did get to hunt in January, and I shot a real big boar with my bow.
There you go. With an expandable.
All right.
There you go, Charles.
All right. Well, we're going to wrap up the podcast portion, folks. Make sure you tune in on Wednesday. That way you get to listen to what we talked about during the commercial breaks.
That's right.
All right. That'll do it for us this week, folks. And don't forget, you can catch us in syndication at 2 p.m. Eastern Time on GoodTalkRadio.com. This episode was brought to you by PSE Archery,
ScentLock Technologies,
Scent Blocker,
Rambo Bikes,
Hunter's Blend Coffee,
Limwalker Game Calls,
Stanislavski Releases,
Copper John Sights,
Easy Cut Outdoor Products,
Fourth Arrow Camera Arms,
Wind Sense Hunting Sense,
X-Stand Tree Stands,
Spot Shooters,
and Twisted Mind Bowstrings.
Thanks for listening, and join us again here next week. Until then, remember, as we always like to say, if you're out on the water or in the woods, shoot straight and be safe until next week on the Up North Journal.